Welcome back YouTube to my channel of an everyday life of an Aspie. If you're new to my channel, I'm Aspie, and basically I talk about everyday situations or everyday struggles with me with Aspergers syndrome, OCD, depression, anxiety and the like, but hopefully along with that is tips and advice, as well as basically just sharing my life story with it. As you know that I've created a book, so there should be more in depth to what I'm sharing with you all, even though like I said I'm hoping if time allows me to do a sequel to some of the parts that I haven't addressed in that book that will come into play with some of the videos that's already on my channel. So for the uglies, I welcome you back, and hopefully that's, you've learnt something as well, taking something from it, of getting those to know me more as a person underneath these diagrams. This goes for basically the newbies as well. So whatever reasons you guys are, on my channel, I hope that you'll find something that you'll enjoy and actually can relate to one way or another. Okay, I'm just hoping with some of the topics though, however, whatever it may be it the Aspergers syndrome and ... series that I'm trying to create right now, that will be a bit shorter and briefer for you all to understand of the everyday topics that, us Aspergers people or autistic people alike may struggle to go through in our life, and that we can learn from each other regardless of these tips and advice of how we go about it, and that maybe we can just, as I said, respect to what is needed here. I like it's give and take, make it a user-friendly channel. Now for today's topic I'm going to share is basically the food for thought, or Aspergers and food, my story a little bit briefly about this, and about what I mean here is maybe what foods to eat and not to eat, even though some of us people with Aspergers syndrome may have a really strict diet to what we want to eat, or what we do actually eat, even though some foods that we may need to stay away from also needs to be shared here, and maybe just some of the general principalities of food. But as we know, we should know based on human nutrition on how certain different food groups work and all that by now, because as I said before, I've shared this in one of the series. But as you know though, however, when it comes down to us, as I said, it will vary from person to person with Aspergers syndrome of what we eat, yet I'm not going to sound basically as if to give each and one of us a hard time about, at all. This is not the right foods to take, pointing that little finger at you and wave it at you, no, this is not the case. This is all about maybe, also pointing the fingers about our personal struggles, regardless what it may be of what we're facing. My hope here for this video of what I'm sharing to you today is to educate you all and to maybe teach you in some way or another, as we know that there are a lot of variations in people that actually chooses basically what sort of food and what they eat, and how much, how little, how big, how small, and what diet they want to go on, be it vegetarianism, be it on a vegan diet, be it on an organic diet, be it a no sugar diet. The list goes on of all these diets that's out there, but to me, as I said before, I've shared briefly about the organic eating. All you need to know about organics, refer back to this one, I humbly suggest to you all. But many people may or not agree, basically organic eating can be the best by far to eat, as well as maybe for some others paleo diet. But then again, bear in mind though, as we know, that everyone has their different uptake on it, okay? Because obviously for organic eating, however, is a cleaner and healthier diet for most of us, as well as the paleo, and some of it can be based on the lifestyle choices, be it whatever it is, and the reasoning behind it. Some that may not believe to have meat as a vegetarian because they love animals, or they just want to save the planet by doing, the organic diet versus the vegetarian diet and vegan diet, whatever it may be. But again, that's their choice, however, and whatever reasoning behind this. Despite having Aspergers syndrome, as I've shared so many times before, many of us that does have it may struggle to find the right foods to eat, or may just struggle to eat in general. especially when it comes down to making and creating healthier meals. Okay. Um, as well as some of these dietary options that I've been recommended I'm supposed to be eating with my omega-3 versus all the other omega oils that helps with my brain function versus having to have iron and all the like, as well as my magnesium that I need to make sure. Sometimes I have to also supplement it with some, dietary supplements to hopefully as well, maybe to get as much in my diet as possible, which is important for me. But if we choose wisely, however, okay, I'll address this. Our bodies will thank us later in the long run, along with, us exercising and doing these lifestyle changes that we need to, do for ourselves. Be it, we need to exercise more. Be it we may need to diet less on some of the foods that we love and, adore so much, or whatever it may be. But, else, basically, like, for this story of mine, or just a little, telltale of it, I know I shouldn't be bringing it up, but my mum usually was the one that picked up the signs of certain parts of my learning disability, while I was younger. Obviously, trying to balance up, what was the good foods and bad foods to give to myself and my sister included, that you saw briefly in my introductory two parts of the sisters tag. Balancing up what was right for us at that time, because obviously my mum is usually really cautious to what she gave us. Obviously, she always read back of labels. Many people may think that, you shouldn't be reading back of labels, how much sugar is in there, how much salt is in there. But matter of fact, mum was always out there looking out for our needs, which I thank her for that. And to this day, for me, when it comes down to shopping, even it takes me longer for sometimes when I do my own grocery shop to decide what to eat, for myself. I look on the back of labels, sort of thing, even though many people may think it's just an excuse, but I have my reasonings to do this myself. Part of me just feels that, I feel that I can function without having to have sugars, caffeinated drinks and the like, which I have been recently. Now, trying to take it into smaller amounts of orange juice, caffeinated beverages, and that actually triggers me off to the walls. That makes me stir crazy. And basically, I've noticed that drinking some of the actual orange juices that I thought was right for me actually had a lot of sugars, different forms of sugars, and it made me stir crazy. This goes with also caffeinated beverages. It's a no-no. So anything that was purely high in sugar, Mum made sure that we had healthy lunches at school, making sure that from when we were tiny, making sure that, like, even though I remember she was saying to me that she actually made the actual, fruit and veggie purees that you get in those little canister jars as a baby, food wise, she made it up so that we actually got the natural sugars from the actual fruit and veg, not the actual other artificial sugars, and that goes inside the actual content of the food, so to speak. And the list goes on, which I thank Mum actually for teaching me some of these habits now of, looking out for what to eat, not to eat on the back of labels, as well as some of the, doctors that's come into play too. I've realised that, however, while growing up, I drank quite a fair amount of orange juice, especially in my teens, pre-teens, especially when I was, starting to gain my independence, shall we say, and also in the way of flatting, trying to budget, versus, paying my rent versus, what to eat for food and the like, whatnot. And, in my time of those teens, I'll admit that I think in some ways I did drink too much caffeinated drinks as well as fizzy drinks. That just sends me off berserkly off the wall again. I will repeat that. It wasn't, even though it was due to my poor choices of what I chose to eat and drink in my teens that made me, hyperactive, so to speak. My parents knew that some of the foods and drinks will also trigger off my ADD or some other form of, learning disability or some form of, you know, learning condition, shall we put it nicely, because obviously it has been clinically proven that certain additives, preservatives, flavorings, and that in drinks and foods can actually cause us to get us hyper and out of control, and then to the point that we need to just have that caffeine sugar hit 1 minute, and then you're on that roller coaster, you're hyped up ready, and then you're coming up to a standing point that is you need to burn off some steam and energy, and then you just plummet down pretty much with that. And then with that effects, the side effects to me when I had these caffeinated drinks or sugary drinks or food or whatever it may be that had these colours and preservatives and all that I've just mentioned, basically, well then for the negative side effects of it all, it made me anxious and made me basically tired out easily some days. Sometimes I'll end up sweating profusely. I end up becoming really shaky, and obviously for some of us that likes that sugar caffeine fix or rush, basically it's like a form of adrenaline for us, Some of the choices I've made, however, though, while growing up, before knowing that I had Aspergers syndrome, usually 9 times out of 10, with the help of my mother, obviously, I used to eat real healthily, because obviously to this day mum still does this. She portion sizes everything, making sure that the portions is smaller for us, basically, even though many people may disagree on this, but that's how mum works. She basically portion size smaller. She also checks the labels on the back about as I said, about the sugars, salts intake versus the colours and preservatives and anything else that's needed to be basically, omitted out of our diets, put it nicely. I used to also, while I was younger, like any probably kid would do while growing up, I used to do a fair lot of sports. I used to be a real active young child, regardless what it may be. I used to do hockey, I used to do cross country, I used to do some form of activities that they involve multiple kind of sports all clashed into one. I can't remember what it is called in PE, physical education. I think you guys used to call it back in the days. But again, I'll admit this, I did, however, make some, bad choices leading to my early teens, mid-teen stage of my life. Since now I'm 29, I'm now starting to learn what's appropriate and what's not, especially now after having Asperger's syndrome. I need to know what's good for me and what's not good for me, so to speak. Even though, like I said many times before, many people may argue the point with me that I'm a fussy eater, whatever label mentality, but truth be told here, I'm not a fussy eater. Some things I used to enjoy, I can't enjoy anymore due to the taste or feel in my mouth of some foods, of the texture versus just some hypersensitivity over it versus the hypo. So it's a matter of just basically, as I said, giving a bit of freeway of balance there of my hypo and hyper. I used to, and I still do to this day, usually eat processed foods, and that I felt it was easier for me and quicker for me, as well as cheaper and tastier, be it you going out to certain of my favourite fast food joints, be it, certain fast food joints can be some takeaway stores maybe, or McDonald's or KFC, even though now I don't eat much KFC anymore due to my own valid reasonings behind it, especially after seeing, obviously, mum being food poisoned one year. But then, however, it came to that point now when I was about close to my end of my teens, roughly 17, 18 or even 19 years of age, basically, as I said, well, clinically diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, to at least to appreciate some of the foods more, to check what goes in and out of my body. We need to balance out, what goes in, what goes out. I know it sounds kind of rude how I'm interpreting it. I'm just trying to remember the right actual physics of saying it so it doesn't come out too rudely for you, but hopefully you guys will understand where I'm coming from. Also, managing my budget, how to budget, how much am I going to spend for the week of that special dietary requirements I'm supposed to be having. If I can't afford a certain particular thing, be it my fresh fish that I'm supposed to be having, of the tuna chunks versus the salmon and stuff, I'll just find some other form of alternative, even if it means now and again if I have to eat stuff that are tinned, even though they say fresh is best, quality over quantity, so to speak. Also, it came down to meal planning more. When I first started flatting, obviously I had to meal plan in advance what I wanted to making sure within that means of my budget that I can afford what I was actually planning what to have that night, what to have, and then the following night if I couldn't finish it all, even though once upon a time when I first started my flatting experience, I used to basically, as someone used to call it, feed the army. So what they mean here obviously is I used to prepare my foods in bulk, or prepare in advance of what I want to make, especially as we know that when it came down to me when I first flatted, I learned that when I was using mince can be used in a variety of meals, as well as maybe other food groups that I needed, as well as the meat produce versus your iron protein versus your carbs versus whatever, so I decided just to keep meal planning ahead in time. When I first flatted of my flatting experience, I had my good times and bad times of flatting, but I'm still flatting to this day, actually, as you can see in the surroundings behind me here. Also, basically, I know that, as I said before, due to what I eat and how much I eat or how often I eat, many people may think, or come to that assumption stage that I'm, again, too fussy or what have you, but no, they may want to reject me for that, but that's your guys' call for it. If you want to make that assumption thinking wise, so be it. I'm just here to address to you all today that I'm not. I know what I can eat and what I can't eat. It's basically learning to listen to my body, so it doesn't hopefully, take an effect of rejecting it in the wrong way, Some of the foods that I used to enjoy now, now and again, some of it will just, my body will tend to just say, Kieran, break away from it, and then just tend to reject, or give, hence what I'm saying, listening to my body, what it needs at that time of day. If I'm running low on energy of some form of, nutritional value, be it my carbs versus whatever it may be, or just the iron intake versus my protein intake and all that nonsense that I'm supposed to be having, then so be it, I know that sometimes it can be a bad thing, however, that, that many people may think what I said or make that assumption about me being a picky eater, or anyone in particular that has, these different sensory sensitivities, be it touch, taste, smell, the like of the 5 classic senses. We may be a threat to you lot, but then again, it's just about giving us a freeway balance of understanding us from where we are, regardless of our hypo versus our hypersensitivity to it all. But yet again, I'll just say this, I'm forever grateful with the help of my mum and guidance of dad and mum, I should say, with the food choices that they were trying to help me with before I decided to flat, basically, I wouldn't be here, sort of thing. Also, with their help of showing me how to budget wisely, regardless, balance up what we can afford and what we can't afford, sometimes it's okay just to maybe 1 week to treat ourselves for like a sweet treat, be it a cheesecake, be it something we love and enjoy, I believe that I am actually a healthy well-being. Despite that, okay, my lifestyle needs to change a bit more, maybe to go as what my dad senses, as well as maybe many people may say that I might need to go out more and actually exercise more and socialize more and whatever else, just to maybe gain that energy back or whatever. But then again, that's fine. Um, I can almost eat anything, yet some of the seafoods I used to love and enjoy will reject me. Some of the like real hot spicy foods, even though I was trying to push myself when I was younger with mum, I used to enjoy eating spicy foods, but I can't tolerate it anymore. So I'm a sweet mild fangirl. So just give you guys a heads up what I usually am eating now. Some of the other foods I used to enjoy basically are my like kiwis, like green kiwis, especially the kiwi fruits. But then again, now since the like some of the acidic foods like that doesn't agree with me because it burns my throat, basically. So I alternatively have to swap from a green kiwi fruit to a gold kiwi fruit that I see in supermarkets because it's less acidic for my taste buds, or so that my taste buds doesn't sing out and zap out at me saying, enough is enough, Kieran. Um, I also love my, berries. I always have done, as well as my melons and all that. My tropical fruit, watermelon, melons in general, honeydew, and all those. Um, Changing my diet a little bit gave me a better appreciation of food, as well as basically appreciation of my body, loving my body and loving the food that goes in, what goes out. It also gave me a better ability to be level headed, active, being able to, what I mean by level headed is with having the right nutrients, as I said before, with these omega 3s and all that, that needs to be helping for my brain function. Because for us autistics or autistic holistics, if I'm going to label us as that we tend to overthink a lot, or we think so much to the point that it makes us do crazy or whatever you want to call us. But then again, it helps us to function better. Also, like I said before, with the help of certain forms of supplementation that aids with those elements of those nutrients, it can go a long way. I believe now and again I still have a lot of energy, regardless if I end up breathless, running around like a headless chook, as I do sometimes, as many people may know me, running around like a headless chook. I'm able to think more clearly, however. Sometimes I may feel blech, lack of energy. But then again, as I said, basically with that last stage, if I'm out of energy or just feel like that my hunger bus is coming to, or hunger pains comes in, I just hope, again, listen to my body, what it wants at that time, and actually give it, and see what my body can tolerate at that level of that stage, regardless what it is. But it's a matter of being careful what I eat and how much and how often I eat it. As many people know me, if I'm doing a given set task, I'm strongly focused on it. Okay, giving my 100%. And as with the many foods I've had, something some to do with it. Some days I may feel sluggish due to the foods I took during the day. Some days I may not. I may stay up late and may tend to forget to feed my little poor body, and it's like, feed me. Or I hear that gurgling kind of rupture in my tummy with that hunger pain versus that peristalsis, which is the tuning of the food stage and whatnot in us, that's basically telling us something. Raw food or organic diets, however, will give you the right sort of feeling. Right foods or organic diets may help us to calm us down. I've stayed away from some of the raw sugars, as I said before, as well as some other foods in my diet, be it those sugary kind of foods versus the foods that may have a lot of high preservatives versus the colouring, and that may tend to come my way, that makes me hyperactive. But it's all about making the right food choices for myself, as well as you guys making the right food choices for you. But as I said before, some of the food choices that I may make for myself may not be beneficial for you. It's just managing and maintaining what is best for you and knowing what's right for you. Sometimes for some of the stuff that I have shared, be it whatever it may be, of some form of, dietary change or whatever, you can do it for yourself and try it for yourself, as well as also, as I'm sharing this as a little story of my own food for thought, basically seek medical advice before you actually maybe change your diets. Maybe sticking to a routine that works for you, however, knowing what's best for you, knowing what your body can tolerate, how much of it, how little of it, being able to balance basically the quantity versus quality, even if it means that you have to add some form of supplements to replace some of these missing nutrients that's in your diet. However, like I have been with some bits and pieces, but now again I'm trying to realise that, if I eat the right foods, I should be, fine enough without the supplements. But that's not always the case. There has been recent arguments at this point that we might need some, supplements to actually aid with us if we're running low on the certain percentile of certain nutrients that's needed. Well, that basically ends my life story of basically food for thought, Aspergers and food. Give me the like 5 thumbs up for support. Comment below if you feel to comment of what sort of foods you guys eat, basically, and what works for you. Feel free to follow me on Twitter, Facebook, AspieAnwersAll. Feel free to subscribe to my channel, because like I said, hopefully on the daily I'll be able to put myself out there a bit more so you can see me more. Feel free to basically share these videos to your family and friends. For further ado, love what you do what you love. Until next time, I'll see you again soon.